Last season, the New Jersey Devils exploded out of their rebuild in a way that nobody saw coming. Just before the year started, they were selecting second overall in the draft. At the end of the year, they'd finished third in the entire NHL. It may have been luck in the way that pretty much everything fell into place all at once, but make no mistake, their success wasn't a fluke. Devils management has done pretty much everything right to not only set up the Devils to be successful, but to build them to be a potential dynasty in the years to come. We'll start where every rebuild starts, at the draft. Since the 2016 draft onwards, the New Jersey Devils have had a hit in every single class. 2016, they landed Jesper Bratt in the 6th round. 2017, franchise captain Nico Hischier got picked first. 2018, 5th round picks Akira Schmid and Igor Sharangovich. 2019, franchise superstar Jack Hughes. 2020, Dawson Mercer, along with Alexander Holtz and Nico Dawes. Beyond that, it becomes way too soon to tell, but 2021 and 2022 have Luke Hughes and Simon Nemec. Their stellar drafting could, in part, be credited to their luck in the lottery. They've moved up in the order 3 times for Hischier, Hughes, and Nemec. On the other hand, had they retained their original positions, they would instead have Cale Makar, Kirby Dach, and Cutter Gauthier. Who knows how they all would have turned out in different situations, but on just pure talent to talent, it doesn't seem like they gained any extraordinary advantage from moving up. Anyways, by all indications, the Devils probably would have made the right selection regardless of where they chose. Their late round drafting proves the fact that their scouting department is making it work any which way. From the 2016 class to the 2021, the Devils have pulled 16 players who have played an NHL game from the second round or later. Some did play literally only 1 or 2 NHL games, but some were also Bratt or Sharangovich or Fabian Zetterlund or Jesper Boqvist. The Devils have done a really great job of turning late round picks into more value. Their record isn't perfect. You'd probably hope for a bit more out of a 12th overall pick than Michael McLeod or out of a 17th overall pick Ty Smith. But even still, both of them made it to the NHL, and McLeod still plays for New Jersey today, while Smith was used to add a key player to their roster. The New Jersey Devils have done about as good as anyone could reasonably expect in drafting, developing, and managing the values of their draft picks, and in large part, that also falls to the credit of their GM. Tom Fitzgerald took over as the Devils GM in 2020, so he wasn't the final say in all the drafts that helped build today's team. He was, however, the assistant GM of the Devils from 2015 to 2020, a role that in lots of organizations means huge oversight of the draft. We can't pinpoint exactly what he did as a GM, but we can throw a bit of credit his way for the great drafting. In any case, where the credit is to be given to Fitzgerald is much more apparent now that he leads New Jersey's hockey operations. He's advanced the Devils tremendously since 2020, primarily with a few key moves. The way the contracts on the Devils have been managed since Fitzgerald took over has been excellent. There aren't really any bad ones, and there's quite a few great ones. The one that obviously sticks out as an absolute home run is the 8-year extension of Jack Hughes. It's easy to forget now, but at the time there was legitimate risk to signing Hughes to an 8-year deal. On November 30th, 2021, when the contract was signed, Hughes had 55 points in 120 career games. He'd had some injuries too, nothing major, but enough to sprinkle a bit of doubt on a long-term deal. But Fitzgerald took the risk, and now he and the Devils get to reap the reward. Not even 2 years since the signing, the contract is one of the best in the NHL. Jack Hughes scored the 12th most points in the NHL last season, and has the 50th highest cap hit in the NHL. Even if he doesn't get any better than he is right now, the contract is a steal. Hughes is still only going to be 22 years old during the upcoming season, and if he manages to reach yet another level, we could be seeing the new and improved version of Leon Draisaitl's 2017 contract. Hughes' deal takes up 9.6% of the Devils' total cap space, but he's already pulling more than 9.6% of the weight for the team. Very few teams across the league have a young superstar on a contract like this. As the cap rises over the coming years and Hughes hopefully continues to progress even further, this amazing contract is only going to look better and better. The second key move was mid last season, and judging by the stats, it doesn't even look all that great at the moment. Fitzgerald did another great job though, because players like Timo Meier aren't available often on the open market. It's hard to find a great power forward. It's hard to bring in star players that fit the window of a young team. And it's hard to find star players that are cost controlled. With Timo Meier, the Devils get all three. The most expensive assets that the Devils paid for Meier were two heavily protected first-round picks, which to them serve as nothing more than bargaining chips for players like Meier anyways. And once they brought him in, Meier came over and did okay. Combining regular season and playoffs, 18 points in 32 games isn't bad, but nothing special either. The 4 playoff points was a big disappointment, but on the plus side, that allowed the Devils to bring Meier back on a cheaper deal than it could have been. At 8 years and $8.8 million per, it's another bet from Fitzgerald and the Devils that the best is yet to come. Totaling between San Jose and New Jersey, last year was a career high for Meier, hitting 40 goals for the first time. If he can do most of that with the Sharks, the hope is that he can do even more with the Devils. Anywhere in the range of 30 to 40 goals per season will make the contract look good, as again, the value of the cap hit will slowly go up as the salary cap rises. The last key move pretty much just happened, and while there's no way to make any sort of determination as to its outcome, it's the continuation of what's been a super successful pattern. Igor Sharangovich, a 30-point scorer, was packaged with a third-round pick for Tyler Toffoli, a 73-point scorer. It continues what's been a 3-year trend of acquiring impact players for assets that aren't useful to them anymore. Before Toffoli, it was John Marino. Before Marino, it was Ryan Graves. Before Ryan Graves, it was Jonas Siegenthaler. Over and over, the Devils have found players for almost nothing that became key cogs in the team's success. Toffoli comes over as the best of the bunch, an experienced previous Cup champion and top 6 forward. The New Jersey Devils come away from the Toffoli trade with possibly the best top 9 in the NHL, and the whole group is super cost affordable. These critical moves made by the Devils have enhanced the potential of their roster dramatically. Fitzgerald and the front office have done an all-around incredible job. They've brought in the right pieces time and time again and built around a superstar core at minimal cost, and ensured that the elite guys will be sticking together long-term. All the Devils need is for those top guys to continue to grow together. It's a young group, but one with incredible talent. Jack Hughes is the obvious superstar, the guy that all their future success is going to hinge on. He's going to be in contention for League MVP for years to come if all goes well. Nico Hischier is his 1B, the type of guy who's going to be out on the ice with 30 seconds left taking a defensive zone draw. He's going to be in contention for the Selke Trophy for years to come. In Hughes and Hischier, the Devils are set up to have a 1-2 punch good enough to rival any team in the NHL. The forward group is already as good as any other team and is probably only going to get better. The defense is led by Dougie Hamilton, the only star on the team 30 or older. Hamilton has many years left as a top pairing guy, and Luke Hughes and Simon Nemec will take those years to learn from one of the NHL's best offensive defensemen. The main issue left to be resolved for the Devils is the goaltending. For a while, it looks like Mackenzie Blackwood was going to be the goalie of the future, but that didn't work out. Vitek Vanecek's now played a full season with the Devils, and he was good through the regular season, but not as good in the playoffs. That leaves Akira Schmid, the 23-year-old Swiss goalie. Schmid statistically outperformed Blackwood and Vanecek in the regular season and playoffs. 2023-24 will be a big test for him to see if it was a fluke or if he could become the next great Devils goalie. The Devils are set up for the future as good as anyone else across the NHL. They've got an incredible record of drafting, trading, and signing. The future is bright on the ice and in the front office, and that's all for a team that just won 52 games last season. Claiming the Devils will be a future dynasty might be a bit much considering they've only even been good for one season, but it's easy to see the potential of what they could be given how exciting that one season was. Their two best players established themselves as some of the league's best centers, both of whom are locked up for the foreseeable future at a cheap price. They saw flashes of something special, from new players and young players, and had the whole league talking about their incredible rise to the top of the NHL. While the extent of their successes over the next one or two seasons will hinge on their current stars, the extent of their long-term successes will depend on those elite tier prospects breaking into the fold. They're already an 112-point team. Adding another star player or two to such a team could change everything, and New Jersey can afford taking on those stars. Maybe they'll just have to settle for being a perennial contender, but with elite cost-controlled talent, an incredible front office always seeking to improve, and high-talent prospects waiting in the wings, the New Jersey Devils are set up better than any other team to become the NHL's next dynasty.